Okay, so today we're going to look at the fair division chapter. A fair division method is a procedure that can be followed that will result in the division of items in a way so that each party feels they have received their fair share. For these methods to work, we need to make the following assumptions. The parties are non-cooperative, so the method must operate without communication between the parties. The parties have no knowledge of what the other players like, what their evaluations are. The parties are rationally or act rationally, meaning they act in their best interest and do not make emotional decisions. And the method should allow the parties to make a fair division without requiring an outside arbitrator or other intervention. So, a fair share, when n parties divide something equally, each party's fair share is the amount they are entitled to. As a fraction, it would be 1 over n. So suppose that 4 classmates are splitting equally a $12 pizza that is half pepperoni and half veggie that someone else bought them. What is each person's fair share? Well, the easiest way to do this, a typical pizza, let's draw our pizza here, is divided into 8 pieces. And it's half pepperoni, so we have 4 pepperoni pieces and 4 veggie pieces. Now, there's 4 of them, so a fair share would be 1 pepperoni and 1 veggie, typically. However, suppose, again, we have that same pizza, but Steve likes pepperoni twice as much as veggie. So what's a fair share for Steve? Well, this is where it gets a little different. So we have our $12 pizza with our 4 classmates. So essentially, a fair share to Steve would be a $3 value. Now let's look at this. Steve says pepperoni is worth twice as much as veggie. So basically, 1 slice of pepperoni is worth 2 slices of veggie. So our 4 pepperonis, we'll use the unit of the value of veggie, would be worth 2 veggies, and then our veggies would be worth 1 veggie. So in I, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, or 9, 10, 11, 12. The value of the pizza is 12 veggies. So 12 veggies, $12. That's $1 a slice. Right? Steve could be several different ways to have a fair value. Now, my guess is since he likes pepperoni, he's probably just going to go to 1.5 slices of pepperoni, which would be 1.5 times 2 times the value of a vegetable, which ends up being $3. But his 3 veggies would be good, or some of the others may not agree with him. 1 pepperoni and 1 veg. The way to go. But this would work too, as would 3 veg. All 3 of those would be Steve's mind a fair value. Now, as I said, especially this one here, some of the other people would not consider that a fair value. This one here would consider fair because everybody gets. This here would be iffy as well. And now let's look at Kim. However, Kim is vegetarian and won't eat. So describe a fair share of Kim. So again, another pizza. Our pepperonis to her have 0 value. Or veggies. So to Kim, There's $4, well, totaling some dollars, for pepperoni totaling $0 to get the total value of the pizza. So one of these, Tim's mine, would equal $3, and that would be a share to her. I doubt any others are going to complain, because it's more for them. I guess there would also be 4 pepperoni and 1 veggie, but there's no way that's happening. So let's look at some methods that are used to do this. First method is called a divider-chooser method. The divider cuts the item into 2 pieces that are, in his eyes, equal in value. The chooser selects either of the 2 pieces. The divider receives the remaining piece. So we have 2 Fred and Martha that buy a vacation beach house in Florida together, with the agreement that they will split the year into 2 parts. Fred is chosen to be the divider and splits the year into 2 pieces, from November to February and from March to October. Even though the first piece is only 4, the second is 8, Fred places equal value on both pieces since he really likes to be in Florida during the winter. Martha gets to pick whichever piece she values more. Suppose she values all months equally. In this case, she would choose the March to October time because it's worth 8/12 of value in her. Fred is left with November to February slot, which he values at 50% of the whole. So this is not about equal shares. It's about what you feel is a fair share, depending on how you value it. That's probably the most convenient part of this. So we have Dustin and Quinn. We're given an apple pie and a chocolate cake. And need to divide them. Now, Dustin values the pie at $6 and the cake at $4, for a total value of 10. Quinn values the pie at $4 and the chocolate cake at $10. Fair division if Quinn is dividing, and specifically which half Dustin will choose. So, one way to look at this, the most obvious way to look at this, of course, half, but that would be too easy. So let's look, and Quinn really likes chocolate cake. So what if Quinn just did this and said, I'll take 7/10 of the whole chocolate cake. So split it like this. Because in Quinn's eyes, the pie is 4, and 3/10 of the cake is 3, so that's 7. Or 7/10 of the cake would be 7. So in Quinn's mind, they're equal. Now Dustin over here, he's like, okay, you're going to give me this whole pie, and then you're going to give me 3/10 cake. Quinn's eyes, a fair share would be $5 value. So just getting a pie, he's good with that right away. I mean, in Dustin's eyes. Plus 3/10 of this cake, which would be worth another $1.20 to Dustin. So Dustin is taking the 3/10 of the cake and the whole pie. To him, that's more valuable. To Quinn, both choices are of the same value. So again, as I said, it's not necessarily equal portions. It's what you feel is a fair share. Okay, then we have a lone divider method. The lone divider method proceeds as follows. The divider divides the item into n pieces, which we'll label S1, S2, all the way to Sn. Each of the choosers will separately list which pieces they consider to be a fair share. This is called their declaration or bid. The lists are examined. There are two possibilities. If it is possible to give each party a piece that they declared, then do so. The divider gets the remaining piece. Two or more parties both want the same pieces and no others. They give a non-contested piece to the divider, and the rest of the pieces are combined to repeat the entire procedure with the remaining parties. If there are only two parties left, they can use chooser, divider, chooser. So here we have three people. So as we see there, what they would consider a fair piece would be 33.3%. So looking at the declarations, we see chooser one, only piece they think is fair and is actually greater than fair is piece one. Same thing with piece chooser two, they prefer piece one as well. So what happens? Well, since they both want the same piece, cannot completely immediately allocate that pieces. The lone divider method specifies we give a non-contested piece to the divider, which are both 2 and 3. So flip a coin, give them piece 2, put piece 1 and 3 back together, and then choose with the divider method. That way each need that they feel is fair. Okay, so let's look at another lone divider method. Piece 1. Chooser 2 declares piece 1 or piece 2, and the divider thinks they're all 3. So what happens here is chooser take piece 1 because chooser piece 2 is there, and that leaves the divider to get piece 3. Chooser 2 feels that piece 2 is also a fair share. They'll get piece 2, and chooser 1 will get piece 1, leaving for divider. Okay, suppose that Abby, Brian, Chris, and Dorian are dividing a plot of land. Dorian was selected to be the divider through a coin toss. Each player's valuation of each piece is shown below. How would we settle this fairly? Okay, 4. So 100% divided by 4, 25% would be a fair share. So looking at Abby here, piece 2 and piece 4. Abby declares for piece 2 and piece 4. Brian for piece 1, piece 2, and 4. Piece, and Dorian was here, so, or divider, so now let's look. Piece 2 is going to be a mess. However, Brian is good with piece 1. Now we have Abby and Chris fighting over piece 2 and piece 4. Look, Chris values piece 2 at 45%. Abby values it at 30%. So Chris will probably take piece 2. And that leaves piece 4 for Abby, and then piece 3, of course, for Dorian. That way they all received what they feel was a fair share, or better. Okay, suppose the valuations in the previous problem were changed. How would we settle this fairly? So let's see. We're still looking for 25%. So there's 30 and 35. Brian would declare for piece 2 and piece 4 as well. And then Chris would declare for piece 4. So now we have two different pieces being declared by multiple people. So we have uncontested pieces 1 and 3. I would say we flip a coin, say piece 1 for Dorian. Now we have these 3 pieces left. Now, what we can do is put them all together and do it again. It wants us to do that. I would probably guess that we would let Chris have piece 2. And then these 2 pieces would get fought over by the 2 remaining people with a divider-chooser method. Okay. 4 investors are dividing a piece of land valued at $320,000. One was chosen as the divider, and their value of the division in thousands is shown below. Who was the divider? And describe the outcome. Okay, the divider is going to think all 4 pieces are of equal value. So it looks like Caesar here is the divider. And 80 is considered share. Looking at Sonia, piece 1, piece 3, and piece 4 are 80 or more, so they're fair. Adriana is good with piece 3 and piece 4. And Raquel is good with piece 3 and piece 4 as well. So, looks like Sonia would get piece 1. 3 and fought over. So Caesar would get piece 2, and then we would do divider chooser on these. Or they might be able to, since Adriana feels piece 3 has more value, and Rachel appears piece 4, they might be able to make a deal. But since they don't count, it would be divider chooser for the. Then we have something called the finisher method. This method, that's by pulling names out of it. The method that first person examines the piece. If they think it's less than a fair share, then they pass on the piece. And if they think the piece is more than a fair share, they trim off the excess and lay claim to the piece. The trimmings are added back to the to-be-divided pile. Each remaining person, in turn, can either pass or trim the piece. After the last person has made the decision, the last person to trim the slice receives it. If no one has modified the slice, then the person that cut it receives it. Whoever receives the piece leaves with their piece, and the process repeats for the remaining people. Continue until only 2 people remain, then they can divide what is left with the divider choosing it. So here we go. Suppose we have 4 salespeople dividing up Washington State into sales regions. Each will get 1 region to work in. They pull names from a hat to decide play order. So round 1, the first salesman, Bob, draws a region around Seattle, the most populous area of the state. The piece Bob cuts automatically lays claim to is shown in yellow. The second salesman, Henry, felt that that region was worth more than 25%, which is each player's fair share. Because of this, Henry opts to trim this piece. The new piece is shown in pink. The trimming to the to-be-divided portion of the state, Henry automatically lays claim to this smaller piece since he trimmed it. Third saleswoman, Margot, feels the piece is worth less than 25 and passes, as does Beth. Since they both pass, the last person to trim it, Henry, receives the piece. On round 2, here comes Bob again, laying claim to a piece, shown again in yellow. Henry already has his piece, so he's out of it. Margot passes on this piece, feeling it's worth less than a fair share. Beth, on the other hand, feels the piece is currently drawn is worth 35%. So Beth is in an advantageous position, being the last to make a decision, even though Beth's piece at 35%, she cut a very small portion and related to it. So Beth bears the piece, resulting in a piece in blue that is essentially worth 35% to her, since she receives the piece. At this point, Bob and Margot are the only players without a piece. There's the two of them. They finish the division using the divider-chooser method. They flip a coin and determine that Margot will be the divider. She draws a line dividing the remainder of the state into two pieces. Bob chooses the eastern piece, leaving Margot with the western half. Now notice that in this division, Henry and Margot ended up with pieces that they feel are worth exactly 25%, a fair share. Beth was able to receive a piece she values as more than a fair share, and Bob may feel the piece he received is worth more than 25% as well. So Marcus, Abby, Julian, and Ben are splitting a pizza that has 4 slices cheese and 4 slices veggie, for a total of $12. Marcus and Ben like both flavors equally. Abby only likes cheese, and Julian likes veggie twice as much as cheese. So for Abby, 1 slice of cheese is worth 12 divided by 4, or 3. She has a value of 0 to her. To Julian, cheese value is $1. Remember the early problem we did? And veggie is $2, twice as much as Mark. Ben value both at $1.50 a slice. Okay, so we're going to divide this pizza using last diminisher method, playing in the order Marcus, Abby, Ben, then Julian. So Marcus would probably split it, let's just say 1 cheese, 1 veggie. That works out fine. And who's next? Abby. To Abby, that's a fair share. But she's just exactly a fair share. So she's not going to want to slim it any. Now to Ben, that's a fair share. So if Ben cuts it any, he's losing value. And same with Julian. So essentially, Marcus is going to get that piece, or those 2 pieces. Okay, now Abby. Abby might go like this. Why wouldn't she go this way? 2 cheese. It's 1/4 of the pizza. Might try it. It's worth $6. Now Marcus, he only thinks it's worth, or Ben, I mean, Ben only thinks it's worth $3, so why cut back on it? And Julian thinks it's only worth $2, so he don't want it. So let's see, that leaves us 1 cheese. And I use evenly. So why wouldn't he just take 1 cheese and 1 veggie? Get a variety. Thinks that's fair, but why cut off on it? If he wants it, he's got to cut off, which makes it not fair. So he lets Ben have it. That leaves So everybody got 2 pieces of pizza. Two. Here they like them both equivalently. Got one of each. Abby, who preferred cheese, got 2 cheese. And Julian, who preferred veggie, got 2 veggie. So in their minds, well, Julian felt he got $4 worth. He's loving it. And Abby felt she got $6 worth. So again, it's not necessarily even value, it's even in the mind of the chooser. In this case, they kind of played their odds and got a better deal. Okay, we have 5 players are dividing a $20 cake. In the first round, player 1 makes the initial cut and claims the piece. For each of the remaining players, the value of the current peach, which may have been trimmed at the time it is their turn, is shown below. Describe the first round. Okay, so player 1 cuts it. Player 2 thinks it's only worth $3. Keep in mind there are 5, so the value of a fair share is $4. So player 2 passes. It's worth $5. So player 3 trims, sends it to player worth $3.50 to me, and player 5 says $3. So player 3 would get this. So in the second round, player 1 again makes the initial cut and claims the piece. Current value shown below. Describe the outcome of this round. Okay, so player 1 cuts it. Player 2 says, dang, that's worth $7. That's bigger than the one before. So he slices a little bit off, which brings it to player 4. Says, that's crap. That's only worth $3. He passes, and player 5 says, hey, $5 worth of cake. I'll take it. Cuts a little bit, and it's his. Again, probably a little bit more than $4 worth in their eye. And that's how that works. Okay, next we have something called the moving knife method. In this method applied to a cake, a referee starts moving a knife from left to right across the cake. As soon as any left of the knife out stop, the referee then cuts the cake at the current knife position. The player who called stop gets the piece to the left of the knife. They continue this procedure until only one player is left. That player gets the remaining cake. Okay, going back to our 4 salespeople from example 11, they decided to use this approach to divide Washington. Rather than move the knife from left to right, they decided to move it from top to bottom. Referee starts moving the line down a map of the state. Henry is first to call stop when the knife is at the position shown, giving him the portion of state above the line, the purple area here. Margot is next to call stop when the knife is at this position, giving her this portion right here. Then Bob hollers and gets the yellow portion, which leaves this last portion for Beth. Okay, last method. Sealed bids method. This method begins by compiling a list of items to be divided. Then each party involved lists in secret a dollar amount they each item to be worth. This is their sealed bid. The bids are collected for each party. The value of all the items is totaled and divided by the number of parties. This defines their fair share. Each item is awarded to the highest bidder. For each party, the value of all items received is totaled. If the value is more than the party's fair share, they pay the difference into a holding pile. If the value is less than the party's fair share, they receive the difference from a holding pile. This ends the initial allocation. In most cases, there will be a surplus or leftover money in the holding pile. The surplus is divided evenly between all the players. This produces the final allocation. So we have Sam and Omar, who have cohabitated for the last 3 years, during which time they've shared the expense of purchasing several items for their home. Sam has accepted a job in another city, and now they find themselves needing to divide their shared assets. Each records the value of each item as shown below. Determine the allocation so that both Sam and Omar will receive a fair share. So the first thing we need to do, we have all their values. We need to add them up and get their total values. Now, let's see. Let me use a calculator. Okay, Sam values everything at $650. So a fair share would be $375. Okay, Omar values everything at a total of $600, so a fair share to him would be not 375, 270, 325. That'll teach me not to use my calculator. 325 and 300. Okay, so let's go down our list of items here. Sam, Omar. Sam gets the couch. Value of 150 to Sam. Omar gets the TV. The value of 250. Sam gets the video game with a value of 250. And Omar gets the surround system with a value of 100. So look at this. We total this up. This is 400. And this is 350. So in this case, they each received more than their fair share in their eyes. So subtract what Sam thinks is a fair share. So we have this pot over here, which has the $75 that Sam got. Subtract the 300 fair share in Omar's opinion. Then we got another $50 there. So we have a total of $125 in this pot. There's two people, so that's $62.50 for each of them. So essentially, this is broke down as Sam gets the couch, video game, 250 days, 1250. However, in Sam's mind, still more than a fair share. Omar over here the surround sound system, $12.50. In 50 got $62.50 back. That's how this works. Okay. We have Jamal, Maggie, Kendra. They're divided in a state consisting of a house, a vacation home, and a small business. Valuations in thousands shown below. So we need to what they value everything at. Oh, and this time with my calculator. This is 720. Divide that by 3. Fair share is 240. We have total. We have fair. Okay, now let's look at Maggie. That's 735,000. And what's her fair share? 245. Then we have Kendra, 280, 200 plus 270. And that's 750. And a fair share to Kendra is 250. So now let's look and see who gets what. Highest bid. Highest bid on the house is Maggie. And Maggie gets the house. Oh, let's do this away from this. We have Jamal, Maggie, and Kendra. Maggie gets the house. In her opinion, worth $300,000. Okay, vacation home. Looks like Kendra gets the vacation home. Vacay home. Valued at $200,000. And it looks like Jamal gets the business. Valued at $300,000. Okay, so now let's look. Jamal thinks he got $300,000 worth, but only $240,000 is what he deserves. So he pays $60,000. So now we have $60,000 in our pot. Maggie got $300,000 worth of value, but to her fair share is $245,000. So she pays the difference there of $55,000. Now Kendra, the fair share is $250,000, and she only got $200,000. So she gets $50,000 paid in. So essentially, we take this 115 minus the 50. We have $65,000 left in the kitty or the pot. So that means we take that and divide it by 3, and we get 22.67. So now everybody's going to get 22.67 thousand. So essentially what we do is subtract 22.67, and I get 32.33. So this and this pays. Then if I subtract my 22.67 here, I get 22.33, and that's paid in as well. So they receive the house and pay in 22.33. Here we get plus 22.67. So 72.67 thousand and the vacation home. And that is how this is done. That's all. Okay. You guys have a good day, and I will see you next time.